Okay, thanks everybody for joining. This is the second session of the observability module. And the last time we kind of talked about what observability is. In this module, we're going to get more into, or in this session, we're going to get more into building observability. What are the components, what are the tools, and what do they actually have to offer? And this overall session really is about observability and its ability to provide insight into a career path. Observability really is a foundation capability, no matter what IT discipline you go into. So it's a good thing to understand and know this. So what is observability? And we kind of talked about this before in the last module. If you missed it, I highly recommend you go back and take a look at that right now. But pretty much observability really allows you to understand the behavior of applications and infrastructure, basically from the data they produce. So be able to look at what's coming out of these devices and have a good idea of what that application, that device, or the overall enterprise is doing and how it's performing. Now in the last module, the last session, we talked a lot about it, and we kind of mentioned this slide too, because what observability is all about is over on the left, you've got all these devices or systems or applications that are generating data. Now over on the right side, you have all kinds of destinations or recipients of this data. Could be analytic systems, it could be storage systems, it could be a bunch of different things. And then up across the top are 5 key organizations: IT ops, DevOps, SRE, system reliability engineers, AI ops, and SecOps, that actually all use this data and use different systems differently. As it flows through what's called there the observability pipeline, we do things to it, we shape it, we make things happen. And that's what I really want to talk about today a little bit, because if you look at observability, if you look at what it really is, it's all about, I've got these sources generating information, going to a destination. That destination could be processing the information, storing it, forwarding on, or doing whatever. The issue we have right now is on these sources, on these servers, on these applications, on these devices, a lot of times you'll have software agents that'll send that data to destinations. The problem is, or the issue is, that a lot of times you might have 1, 2, 3, 4, even a dozen different agents on the same source sending the identical or very similar data to different destinations. And obviously it becomes very complex and very confusing. So one of the first goals of observability is defining what's called a pipeline. And obviously I'm using Crible, but there's other vendors out there that have pipelines. And the idea is I flow all this data into this pipeline. And then within this pipeline, I do different things to it. The most basic thing I can do is I can route it. So I can have a source, data coming from a single source, and I can, instead of having multiple paths or multiple agents sending it to different destinations, I can actually route it right in here and send it to 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 different destinations, whatever I want to do. What I also can do with this pipeline, and as you can see there, I can reduce and transform. Basically, I can shape the data that not all destinations might need the same set of data. So maybe some destinations need everything. Other destinations only need a subset. Other destinations need most, but not any secure information, private identifiable or personally identifiable information. So you can shape that data as it goes through. And once again, it simplifies the whole process. The next thing, and as I said before, a lot of times I want to shape the data, I want to reduce it, I want to filter it, I want to redact it. But then for any one of a lot of different purposes, and one typically is compliance, I need to save a full fidelity copy. Pretty much everything that went in. And that's one of the things that you have what's something called replay, is I can filter all the data and send it out to destinations, but then I can keep a full copy of everything just in case I want to use it again, if I have to respond to some regulatory requirement, or maybe I went out and bought a new system of analysis and I want to wash all that data back through there again. The next step is, as you can see, as the data goes from the source and destination, it can hit this pipeline. The pipeline is a centralization point in the middle of your network somewhere where all this stuff happens. There's also an option of creating what's called an intelligent agent, putting that agent right at the edge, right at the source, right on the server, right on the application, whatever, and do all the filtering and shaping there. So instead of sending everything into the centralized core of the network, into that pipeline, I can only send what's necessary maybe in there to be transformed again, or even I can use that agent to send that source data to multiple different destinations, all at the edge. So once again, distributed versus centralized, sometimes they both work. And then the final thing, what analysis all about, what observability is all about, is actually looking at the data. Yeah, I can collect it, I can forward it, I can shape it, I can store it, but eventually I need to look at it. I need to do something with it. And that's what search is about. And normally with search today, traditional examples that we've done for a while, and it worked very, very well, is I'll collect all that data and I'll put it in a system and I'll ingest it and I'll index it and then I'll search it. But one of the other options that we now have coming out is the ability to also, in addition to that, to also be able to actually go out to the edge, go out to all these different sources, go out to a data lake, go out to storage sites, and actually search the data there. So instead of bringing everything back and then looking for what the specific bit of information you're looking for, why don't I search my entire enterprise, find the applications, find the devices, find the storage locations that have that type of information, and maybe only bring that back. Obviously, much simpler and a much less costly solution. So that all be saying, let's just jump into a quick demo and take a look at what this all has to do with. Okay, so I quickly jumped into the Crible Stream application. Once again, this is not designed to be a marketing thing. Just obviously using our system to a demo of what actually can be done. So here we've got kind of the three items I just talked about. On the left is stream, and that's the pipeline, and edge is actually, that's your intelligent agent at the edge, and over on the right is search. So first thing I want to do is I want to jump into stream, and stream is, as I said, it's our default pipeline, the functionality here. And what you can see is the main screen. I'm not going to go through all this. I just want to do some easy stuff here. And as I said before, probably one of the primary things people use a pipeline for is to route. I got data coming in from one or more sources, and I need to forward it out to one or more destinations. And that's one of the things that, we could do here with what's called Quick Connect. I can go in here and I can define a source. So you just go in there, select a source. And as you can see, lots of different sources, household brands, Grafana, Prometheus, Splunk, OpenTelemetry, TCP, general type protocols, SNMP traps, Windows events, once again, lots of different sources. And I can define them if I want to set that up. And at the same part, on the other side, I can go and set up, add a destination. And I can go in here and create and set these up also. There's about 90 different ones we can set up right now, but it's easy to do. And the whole idea behind that is I can set up a path through the system, through the pipeline. And once you identify different ones you have in there, it's pretty easy to set it up. You just take that and you drag it over to where you want to go, and you can say save that. And as I say, we have a program. And as I said, we've got a program in here called DataGen. They'll just generate data just for the purpose of this lab. And I'm sending it to what's called DevNull. And that's just pretty much a dumpster. And when I connect the two, I have three different options. Pass through. I just want to send the data through here. I don't want to do anything with it. The next is what's called pipeline, where I can go and configure rules of how I want to shape the data. And the last is something called packs. And these are previously defined rules for common data sets, like maybe coming from a Palo Alto firewall, or a lot of different sorts, Windows events type traffic. So it's designed to be very, very easy. But for this purpose, I'm just going to select pass through and save. And what this allows me to do is I can go up here and set up this connection. I'm going to go up here and commit and deploy the changes I just made. You should do that whenever you get a chance to do it. It just takes a second. And then I can actually go in here and I can configure this if I want. And one of the things we generate is called business event logs. As you can see, there's a lot of different types of traffic that you can go in here and play with. And it's the best way to do that, because before you get into production network, you can test it here. Then I want to go up here and I'm going to check and see live data. Hopefully it takes about 30 seconds to flow. And as you can see, it's flowing now, or you could have just went to status and hopefully it shows it a green light. But yeah, so what I want to do is go back under live data. And as I'm flowing this data through, I have the option actually to go in here and capture data. So it's actually going through right now. It's capturing a bunch of data. And I'm going to do this maybe for 20 seconds or whatever, because I want to have something that I can kind of show you a quick demo with. So once this stops, I can actually stop it right there. I probably have enough. And I'm going to save this as a sample file. And you can go ahead and give it whatever name you want. But essentially what I did is I just collected some data so I can pretty much play with it. Is really what I want to do. So what I've done here, and once again, always come back, commit your changes whenever you get a chance, is I went in, I connected a source to a destination, and I captured some data. Next thing I want to do is I want to do something with that data. So I want to process it. So go up on the processing. Now select pipelines. And what this is, as the data is coming through a pipeline, I need to decide what to do. So I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to create a new pipeline, internal, and it's pretty easy to do. I'm going to call that, and I'm just going to call it PII, personally identifiable information, and I want to save that. Pretty easy to do. The next thing I want to do is I want to add a function to this pipeline. What do I want to do with the data? And just for a quickie, I'm going to do, I'm going to mask the data. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some stuff with social security numbers, which obviously is security type stuff, and I want to hide that information as I go through. So I'm going to create this function, and I go down here, and what it does is allows me, well, first of all, let me capture some data, just so, or use some data. There it is. So this is the data that I had collected already before. So what I want to do now is I want to do something with this. So I want to, what do I want to do? What I want to do is I want to find the social security number, the national ID number, and I want to hide it. I want to mask it. And if you're really good with regex, you can go and type all that stuff in here and replace expression and all that stuff. But I want to show an easy way. I can go under here under edit. And by going in here under the edit command, what it allows me to do is actually go in here, and it actually helps you figure out how to do this stuff. So what I want to do is I want to identify the social security number, and it's going to be in here right here. See it right there, social security number? This is what it looks like coming in. Down here is social security number going out. Once again, the same different place. So first I need to make sure that the system can find it. So I have to put a little command in there, and it's pretty easy to set up. Social equals. And what I did is I said I'm looking for something that says social equals, and it created it in group 1, and as you can see, it already found it there. But now I also need to do the same thing for the number itself. So I'm going to go there, and what I have to do for the number is identify commands that will identify that number. And if you're really interested with this, what it's saying is I just want to look for numbers beyond where it says social. So what I did here is I created group 1, social equals, and as you can see it's green. I created a group 2, and that's the number part. And as you can see, it found them both here. Now what I want to do is what do I want to do with this? I want to replace this, and this is a little bit more complex, but you can cut and paste these commands. So what I want to show you here is just put a little number there, and then once again you have to kind of figure out what this is, but once again you can cut and paste this stuff. So what I need to say here is I want to find group 1, and I'm going to do nothing with it. I'm just saying this is group 1, don't mess with it. And you can see here in the output it's already found group 1. Now what I want to do is I need to do something with group 2. So once again, very similar type stuff. I'll go in. What do I want to do? I want to construct the system. So I put a C in there, and as you can see, it automatically looks ahead, tries to figure out what you're trying to do. So I can do that, and now what I want to do is, as you can see, I'm going to start that over again. So I'm going to put that here. So I'm going to select this. And now what I have to do is I need to tell it what I want to do. So I want to mask it. As you can see, it automatically starts figuring out what you're likely going to do. Now, when you mask something, there's different ways you can do it, and I'm going to use an MD5 mask. As you can see, it's getting pretty easy. But what do I want to mask? Well, essentially what I want to mask is I want to mask group 2. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Then I put the closing brackets around it. And what just happened here is I got up here, I've got social, and I've got this, and down here, as you can see, I've hidden that. The social security number has been totally hidden. I'll go OK. I'll commit and deploy that. Now what I've done here so far is I created the route through the system. I created a pipeline. Within that pipeline, I created a function that I just want to mask that information. Now I've actually got to go back here at the beginning. Wait a minute. Actually, I forgot to save that. Okay, to put and deploy again, commit and deploy, and now I'm going to, and once again, that's kind of the neat part, that if you forget something, it'll take you back to where you want. Go back to the very beginning, and I'm going to go back here again, and as you can see, I can click on this line, and now I want to add a pipeline, the pipeline I just created, and it's going to go in here. That's the one I just created. Select it. That's what happens when you're doing a demo. You collect too far. I'm going to collect that one, and I'm going to save it, and I add it to that pipeline. So now if I actually want to go in there, I can look at the traffic going through, and what I just did is all traffic coming through now, it's going to have that social security number, that national ID number, hidden. So there's dozens and dozens and dozens of different functions you can do, but that's part of the routing and the shaping part. The next thing I want to talk about was the intelligent agent at the edge out here. And this is probably pretty cool too. I can go in here, and what I can do is I can group all my devices in different fleets. That one fleet could be all my applications, or however you want to set that up. What I want to do is I want to look at one of them right now, and I'll look at the Sea Adler fleet. And I'll go in here and it'll show me all the traffic flowing through, what's going on. I can, this is just the data. I can click on map view and I can see how much traffic is going here. I can click on that. This is a device that, that's right in front of me right now. It gathers all this information and populates it. But what's even cooler of that, let's say I find this is the device that I'm interested in, and it's doing something odd and not sure what it is. What we have the ability to do now is I can actually teleport, or basically connect directly into this device. So essentially what I'm in now is I'm actually in that device, and I can work at what processes are going on. I can look at what I want to look at. Let me look at that real quick. So you just click on that, it'll open it up, it'll tell you what's going on with that. Why did it kick me back out? I'll look at this one. I think I clicked too quick. And as you can see, data start flowing into that. Very simple, very easy functionality here. And then the next thing I want to show, since we're running out of time, is search. And I mentioned that before, that search is a tool that actually allows us to go in and search all these locations. And if you've never used a search tool, you're going to be amazed how easy it is, because like Crible search sample here, I can just click on that, it automatically goes up and it already launches a search. It launches a search on a specific S3 bucket that I have set up. And it's going to come up, it's limited to 1,000 nodes. It brings back all this information. I can drill down here and I can look at all that information. If I wanted to actually drill deeper, I can look at what hosts are available. And I'm saying that's one's right interested in there. So I'm going to click on that one. As you can see, I just added that to my query bar. I do a search again, and now I'm drilling down just into information coming from that host. Now this will take a few seconds to do that. And as you can see, a lot more information here. And maybe there's something else I want to look at here. Maybe I want to look at VPC flow logs. So I can go in here and I can drill down into just those if I want to do that, as far as the data types or the data sets. The nice thing about this, as I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on here. There's a full course, there's a full training associated with it. This is just kind of an introductory. But as you see, I've got all my history files over here. I can go back and look at them. I've got some sample searches. So if you wanted to kind of look a little bit deeper here, maybe go pick on that one. And as you can see, it'll automatically run a connection for me. Give the information obviously a little bit different as it pulls back information. Once again, very interesting tool. So we kind of looked at the pipelines, how we can route and how we can shape. We kind of looked at putting this processing right at the edge and actually performing it right on the host itself. And then obviously I can search my entire enterprise. I can search individual devices, groups of devices, or buckets of data stored in different places. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back into the deck for just kind of a few minutes to kind of follow up. So I'm going to go back in here. Look at this. The bottom line here is, as I said very before in the last session, is that you can't buy an observability solution. You're going to buy observability parts, observability components. You can buy a search solution. You can buy an agent solution. You can buy a pipeline. There's lots of different things you can buy. You can buy different analytics applications. But it's going to be up to you to figure out what you need depending on the different organizations you're dealing with, whether I need to find a lot more security information, or I need a lot more logging information, or I need to find out about the performance on certain applications, and then you build this solution. You put it all together based on learning observability more and more. The greater experience you have in understanding observability, the better you'll be able to work in whatever discipline you happen to move into. Finally, lots of different tools available to help you learn. This was just kind of a 30-minute intro. We've got a bunch of hands-on sandboxes where you can go in and play with all this stuff. You can create your own account. Go here, doesn't cost a dime. It's a free tier. You can do everything I just did with our data or your own data. You can download the software. If you're not a cloud person, but you got your Linux station on-prem and you want to actually load it up onto Metal or onto your own VM or container, whatever you want, you can do that too. Or you can go to Crible University. Got several different, got many different courses you can actually go through on there. They're all free. They always will be free, and obviously get you much more educated. And, you know, Besides doing things on hands-on working, you can also read and watch lots of white papers, blogs, podcasts, and even manuals up there. So once again, take advantage of this. The smarter you are, the more value you'll be going forward. Thanks a lot. If you've got any questions, reach out to me on Discord or however you want to reach out. I'm happy to help any way possible.